He'll ask anything.
Yeah, Charlemagne be
He was like,
be
"What are you doing to rape your sister?"
he low key be
I seen
wildin'.
that quote, bro. He literally just threw that out there. What about when they raped your sister?
Yeah, he be wildin' with some stuff like that. And I'd just be like, yo, like, how do people let him get away with
Better
this?
not scream on show.
Or just be like, yo,
You know?
chill. Like, stop. Oh, that reminds me. Did you hear about that stuff going on? That Sony did.
No.
So apparently, Sony did a little patch update with Spider-Man No Way Home recently that they dropped into theaters this past week or so. By the time that this episode comes out, it'll be like way after. But this week, during this time of recording, they did a little patch update. So it's the scene where Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, their Spider-Man, like reappear. They
No spoilers?
This is the movie's been out for a while. It don't matter. Who
What are
cares?
those people?
Who cares? If you haven't seen it yet, that's your fault. It's going to be on DVD in February 18th, so it's already going to be out. People live streamed it. People putting it on spoilers on YouTube long after the movie came out. It's that's on you if you decide to wait that long.
It's like basically, if you tried this hard to avoid spoilers until now, you should have tried this hard to see the movie, and then maybe you would be
Maybe you wouldn't be so mad. See, if it was like
just
during,
so.
see if this was recorded and posted a week after the movie came out, all right, cool. Be mad at
Oh,
me.
true. This could be posted probably around February or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So it is way after. It's going to be around the time that it's supposed to be out of theaters.
Is this a Spider-Man episode? Are we talking about who the best Spider-Man is and why it's Andrew Garfield?
This guy. We'll go into that in a little bit, but as I was saying, they updated the appearance. So like you know how he jumps through the portal, they changed him jumping through the portal. They changed the scene. They changed the design of the portal, and apparently the Green Goblin scene of him in the alleyway. It's a different cut than what people originally saw when they first saw the movie. So they like secretly did a little patch update on the film and uploaded it to theaters. So
So
we
there's two different movies.
so there's two different versions, essentially, slightly, but we're only going to see the one that just came out as a patch update. The one that we saw and when we first saw it in theaters, that's only us people who saw it when we saw it. That's it. Unless you can find it on YouTube to see a comparison.
It was flawed, basically.
I don't know. Maybe.
What's the change in the scene?
It's just a slight visual change on visual effects. That's it. The only other change I heard was the Green Goblin scene of him talking to his mask before he smashes it. It's like an alternate take. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It makes me want to go back in theaters to see it and see what's the difference, but
Maybe
uh,
that's what they did for. Yeah, we changed a little part of the movie. Go
so
ahead.
come back in.
Watch the
We're about to make $1 billion. We they're about to be top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. So we need you to get us to beat Avatar because
movie.
Avatar took number one spot again.
How?
Re-released in China.
When?
It was either 2020 or last year. I believe no, it was 2020. It was couple. It was like not that long after Endgame took number one spot of all time.
Is this the first time Chinese people have ever seen a movie?
No, They just re-released it
Oh,
as like a, you know how they re-release movies as like an anniversary or like just because they
they
want to
re-released it
yeah, they re-release.
and made more money on that re-release.
Yeah.
I guess when you give it to China, considering how many people are there, it'd be easy pickings.
To be honest, China is the one spot that America tries to get its worldwide box office numbers from because of the population there. Like if they're not able to get a China release, that it doesn't detriment anything in regards of trying to have like a worldwide box office, a good pull, a profit, but China is
Hmm.
a big draw. If you can draw China, then your movie might most likely will do well. If it's already critically good, then it's going to make more money if China says, yeah, you can bring it on. If not, well, hopefully it works out some way. Pretty much. So, yeah, Avatar is number one at the box office of all time. Highest grossing movie of all time. Then Avengers Endgame. All owned by Disney. So that's how it all runs. It's like Disney's like, oh, who cares? It's our movies. It's our movies now.
All I see is Disney at number one and Disney at number two.
Well, if you look at the highest grossing movies of all time, and you see the movies that are out, majority of it is Disney. Like I can pull up a good number right now, and then tell you highest grossing movies of all time is number one is Avatar at almost 3 billion, Avengers Endgame, then Titanic, then Star Wars Episode 7, then Avengers Infinity War, then Jurassic World, then the live action Lion King. Spider-Man No Way Home is number 8. It beat the first Avengers movie. And then
Wow.
number 10 is Furious 7. And then if you want to go from there, number 11 is Frozen 2. Number 12 is Avengers Age of Ultron. 13 is Black Panther. 14 is Deathly
How many
Hallows.
Disney?
What?
Are you naming top movies or top Disney movies?
No, top movies of all time.
How many of them have like word Disney just now?
Uh, Within the top 10, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 from Disney, and then Spider-Man is mainly Sony, but Disney had a hand in it, so you could say 8.
Wow. And then
And then everything
I
else
mean, like,
after that is Disney. Legit is Disney.
is Stan Lee really the godfather of all these superheroes from
No,
Marvel?
no, he's not. He's partially. He's the one that really gave the characters that pretty much made Marvel, but you also have to credit Jack Kirby. It's him and Jack Kirby that really gave these characters, and then obviously you have a bunch of people that make new characters based off of that. So like, what is it? The recent movie Eternals, that's by Jack Kirby. Daredevil was Stan Lee, I believe. Spider
So
Man.
this dude,
Hmm?
nobody. It's like everyone knows Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby just lives in his shadow.
Well, Jack Kirby's dead, so
I mean,
there goes that.
even so, this is the first time I'm ever hearing his name.
Nah, Jack Kirby, he's been around for a good minute, but he has a lot of he jumped from Marvel to DC, so he's been like on both sides of the comics, both sides. But he was one of the he and Stan Lee were the ones that made Spider-Man and then Stan Lee and Jack Kirby made Thor. Uh, he also
Wait,
had a hit.
Stan Lee made it.
Hmm? What?
Was it Jack Kirby and Stan Lee making Spider-Man together? Who made Spider-Man?
Both of them. Both of
It's
them
a
came.
joint effort.
Yeah, pretty much a lot of the characters in Marvel are all joint efforts by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and then obviously other writers and stuff. But it was mainly them two that came out with the most iconic characters that we know and love, and we see a lot of movies of today. But
Yeah, that's my point. It's like Disney kind of just made a very good investment by jumping onto Spider-Man, buying that, and then Sony as well.
oh no,
Sony is like,
so the history on that is so back in the day in the 90s, Marvel was bankrupt. So they didn't have a studio, they didn't have anything. So they started selling film rights to hopefully, if there's a movie about their superhero, that would make the people try to buy the comics, which would bring in the comic sales up, and then they can get out of bankruptcy. So what they did was they pitched to Sony and a bunch of other places. Obviously, Fox got X-Men, which came out in 2000 and stuff. And
mm-hmm.
then there's a couple other. What is it? Blade was by I forgot what company. And then you got Hulk that was sold to Universal, and a couple other minor characters were sold into those companies too. But when Marvel tried to sell, like, hey, you can have like Sony could have had the Avengers. Sony could have had all of it, but they were like, no, we don't want that. We just want Spider-Man. So
Wow.
they bought the film rights to Spider-Man, and then boom, Tobey Maguire, William Dafoe. That trilogy started to come through. So
Hmm.
they had the rights to Spider-Man, film rights, that is, since then. And then that's why they got that trilogy. And then obviously after Spider-Man 3, they couldn't get Spider-Man 4 developed because Sam Raimi just wasn't into it, because he tried to bring back the glory days of what Spider-Man was before 3, but he just couldn't get the story right. So he just said, just do the reboot that you guys were planning on doing anyway. And then Andrew Garfield came around. Andrew Garfield came around,
Mm-hmm.
and then around the same time that his Spider-Man came around, the Avengers came around. So then Sony was like, you know what, let's do our own cinematic universe around Spider-Man, which it could work, but it's really just Spider-Man and a bunch of villains. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. It kind of works, but it depends on how you play it. And they played it in a rush manner because, Amazing Spider-Man 2, they tried to bring out the Sinister Six to do their own little spin-off movie, which, like, you're going to have a spin-off movie of the Sinister Six, so who's the villain? Spider-Man? Okay, whatever.
The movies haven't even focused and gotten the one's like respectable Spider-Man story out since Spider-Man 3. They never fixed that trilogy. They move on to Andrew Garfield, and I feel like he only got two movies, right?
He only got two because after the second one, that failed in the box office and wasn't working well critically. So right after that, Kevin Feige, which was when Marvel Studios was about to go into getting Phase 3 up to get up and running, because this is around after 2014. They were like, "Hey, we know what happened with Spider-Man. How about we do a deal where we can have him in the MCU?" And they're like, "You know what? Yeah, we could do that." And then that's why they rebooted again. And then here comes Tom Holland's version. So Tom Holland's version can interact with the wider MCU, while Sony can still own the film rights to the character, but Disney and Marvel Studios have the creative say on what goes on with the character in their universe. And then Sony, meanwhile they're doing that, they're like, you know what? Let's have our own little separate universe, starting with Venom. So, as much as we're doing a universe with Disney and the MCU, we're still going to have our own little Spider-Man universe, which is like,
They started. That's so weird. Like I'm so like I feel like they didn't even get traction for it because Spider-Man wasn't in it. I know I didn't really care about it because I'm like a whole
I
movie about that.
I
No Spider-Man.
I was very curious when the first one came out, and I kind of was like, you know what? Like, this is actually, it could have been worse, and I actually enjoy it. And the second one, I enjoy it too, even though it was like really kind of fast. But I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't bad at all.
The
Uh,
movie itself wasn't bad. I'm just asking, did they have to do it without Spider-Man?
they didn't have to, but to be honest, though, that movie has been in the works for quite some time. Like literally after Spider-Man 3, they were thinking of doing a Venom spin-off. In my head, back when I heard about that, I was like, how are they going to do that if he's dead?
Damn, you're telling me Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland both got their careers in. They squeezed their careers in before they got the Venom reboot out. That's wild.
Because it took some time to try and figure out how they were going to do it, and whether they were like how to do it right. Because a lot of people were upset. One thing that they were upset about with Spider-Man 3 was not only because it was oversaturated with villains, uh, it just, a lot of people just didn't like Venom's appearance. Me as a kid, I thought Venom was dope, but I mean, to
Hmm.
each his own. Like, I got with like who the character was, like how he's supposed to be. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit different from what he was in the comics slightly, but that's just that interpretation.
Yeah, I fell in love with Black Spider-Man during that movie.
Yeah,
Like I like that whole aspect. The Black Spider-Man. I'm like, damn, this dude's so cool. Venom, I want him to have this fucking shit forever, you know? I want him to always just, like, in every movie, have a little Venom costume on the side or some shit. But it's just like, they couldn't do it.
yeah,
And it's frustrating.
yeah. No,
It's really,
I felt that way with the video game. When I had the PS2 Spider-Man 3 video game, when I got the black
mhm,
suit unlocked, I was like, hell yeah, I feel like powerful. But then when I had to rip it off and then I had to fight Venom, I was like, yo, where's my black suit at? Or especially after you beat the game and you can't play as the black suit anymore. So you had to really just play the game all over again until you got the black suit so you could just play around, swing around with the black suit. I was
exactly.
just
They
like,
never advanced past that
I was
stage.
just like, come on now. That would have been nice if I could just have the black suit just free roam and shit.
I gotta hop back on the wagon because video games, some of them are solid. Is there a solid Spider-Man game out there now? I know you can have like a bunch of costumes,
It's
but is there really one Black Man?
the latest one by Insomniac, Spider-Man. They call it Spider-Man PS4. They're coming out with a sequel that has Venom in it. Like the sequel to it is going to have Venom, Craven, Miles Morales, and Peter Parker. Because
Mm,
the PS4 version follows Peter Parker, and he fights like a bunch of people, Sinister Six, that type of thing. And then the second one, the after that one, there's a spin-off that came out on PS5 and PS4 called Spider-Man Miles Morales. Because Miles Morales was a character in the first game, but he becomes playable as Spider-Man in this one. And then in Spider-Man 2 that comes out soon, you get to play as both characters. And they have their own different move sets. Like Miles Morales, he has like this is one of his powers where not only he has like, yeah, that
the
electric chart,
shot.
yeah, the shock thing. So they got that. Uh, and then I think
I'm saying
Parker got like other things.
that's an odd to Static Shock.
Yeah,
Or
you
it's an ode.
Yeah, you could think that. You know what? I just thought about this earlier today for some reason. I was like, because you know how a lot of people, I've seen this tweet once, and then there was like a bunch of like TikToks where, everybody's dressing up as Miles Morales, a lot. So then there's one tweet I saw. He was like saying, I like how everybody's now starting to think that they're Miles Morales, and then it showed a picture of a black dude in a black Spider-Man suit, and then there was a chick with the in the Spider-Gwen costume, and I was like, you know what? I
Mhm.
really think about that. Like, there's a lot of black people that dress up as Miles Morales. I was like, but Miles Morales is mixed. He's half black and half Puerto Rican. So where are the Puerto Ricans at with this?
Oh my god. And that's the other problem. It's like I'm black character and now everybody gotta dip their hand in and like there's literally only one colored Spider Man. And that's abysmal. There could be a Spanish Spider Man. They got Spanish, but
No, they do have
non-white is a hard thing to get.
a Spanish Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, but like he's Mexican, which obviously it is sort of Hispanic, but like Miles Morales is
Mm.
black and Hispanic, but everybody's focusing more on the black side of him than instead of just embracing the fact that he's both.
What that's maybe the type of Hispanic he is, man. He's one of those, black or a little Hispanic on the side. You
His
know?
mom is his mom is Puerto Rican, his dad is black, and he has both parents, unlike Parker. So
You just made me
so
laugh. Like
so I just had to
no,
put that in there. It was a good opportune time,
Miles
but
Morales is good. They did him justice. The Spider-Man movie, though, I have a hot take on it. I think I think it really used the fan service as a crutch. Or if it did, or if it, I'm saying if it didn't, I'm just really out of touch with a lot of things because that movie, it felt like I was watching like Nickelodeon or something.
you're talking about
That's
No
what it
Way
was.
Home.
Yeah.
No, it did weigh. The writers did admit that they tried to do as much fan service as they could that could balance the story and progress it instead of just doing it just to do it. Like for
Yeah.
example,
But not even. I love the fan service. I'm
no, it was
saying
great.
every everything outside of that was just like, literally, I'm watching Nick at Night, or I'm watching iCarly or some shit. Like it's not a Spider-Man movie. I feel like I'm a child. You know what I mean? Like, I really, you know what I mean? Supposed to be watching Spider-Man.
Well,
Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, they had the tone that that these new Spider-Man movies just don't have. Like,
well,
I feel like it's
well,
just all sunshine and rainbows.
well. Here's the thing about the difference between all three. So, Maguire Spider Man, if you haven't realized, the first movie centered around him in high school for like literally half the movie. After that, that was it. He was done. He wasn't even in high school anymore. The rest of the movies after that, he's like a full fledged middle aged man, like in his late 20s, 30s, trying to
Tobey
balance life.
started.
And then you could have like a few moments where he's in college, but he's like
Nah, that
he's
no.
not really in college. He was just in his
High
30s trying
school.
to he was in his 30s trying to get his degree after not going to school for a while because he was Spider-Man. Meanwhile,
He's
Andrew
trying to play a game
meanwhile
for
Andrew
like
yeah, Andrew Garfield, they focused on him being in high school for like a little bit, but then they just jumped to saying like, all right, in the second movie he's graduated, he's done, that's it. Now he's a full fledged adult, but oh shit, Gwen Stacy died, and then now he's like uh, a high school graduate who's like fucking depressed and the fact that he lost the love of his life and all that crap. Tom Holland, they really focused his entire trilogy of him strictly being a high school kid trying to understand what it's like to be Spider-Man. Like the way I think of it as like yeah, you had Tony Stark as his mentor, Nick Fury as like a mentor, Doctor Strange was somewhat of a mentor, but his real mentors that really told him like this is how you need to be. This is what makes Spider-Man you, or like this is embracing your identity of being Spider-Man is older versions of himself who've been through all that crap and is like, look, man, we all been through it. You're about to experience it. Now we're just gonna tell you how it's gonna be done, or like here's a way to get through it. And from now on, instead of you being Spider Boy or under the Avengers wings or whatever, having a fucking mentor, you're really Spider Man now. And the trilogies after this, because they already got Spider Man 4 in development, he's Spider Man. It's gonna be more different tone than high school boy. So
No. Well, I stand by it still. I feel like Andrew Garfield was my nice, like, I guess Goldilocks and the Three Bears scenario, just right in the
I
middle.
think
He was just perfect. High schooler, he was serious. His Spider Man hit the fucking mark, and people didn't appreciate that. Now, Andrew
no,
Garfield,
I th-
I'm
I
not
th-
gonna bash what
I think each one of them had their own take. Like
me
McGuire,
Andrew Garfield's is better,
he
and I'm gonna say it goes Andrew, Toby, and Toby and the other one, Tom Holland, they're tied for second because I can't put one of them as the worst because they're all like I want to show them some respect. They're doing Spider-Man respect. They're trying their best. They got these movies out. They're not bad, but I really can't help but feel like the new Spider-Man is like rated like G. Like it just feels weird, and it's crazy because they had the best fan service, the best special effects, and all that, but it's like maybe I feel like it made me really feel like I was getting too old for it. Maybe that's why I just don't like. I was just like, ugh, like I shouldn't feel this way, you know. I should be enjoying the movie, not feeling like I'm sitting in like an elementary school. But
I don't know.
maybe that's what movies are. That's what movies are geared towards too, like not more media. Because when you look at the Cartoon Network, and I'm not saying I like the Cartoon Network now, but when I was
Oh
like
no,
looking,
that's a whole different comparison. Like that, you can tell the difference between Cartoon Network now and Cartoon Network back then, and that's a huge drastic difference. I am not going to get into because that I
but
will
then I feel
go.
like even though even well then we know it changed drastically. I'm saying I feel like movies are changing in the same direction almost, or at least the Spider-Man is. Like it's like
I don't think so. I think this was more of instead of just giving us directly the Spider-Man we know in the comics, we got his origin split into three different movies that pretty much is teaching him to be teaching him what it means to be Spider-Man. And then now that he knows what it means to be Spider-Man with the help of two other different Spider-Men, he can finally be on his own and say, "All right, I'm Spider-Man." Cuz that's the world knows him as. Nobody knows him as Peter Parker except himself. So, I'm one thing I'm looking forward to is I hope in the next trilogy, because it's going to be set in college, it's going to be more mature. Is either he teams up with like Daredevil, and then the villains like Kingpin, or anything like in that regard, like something that is more grounded, more gritty. Because like I that would be cool instead of having like the other villains,
like
like the villains that we had in No Way Home were pretty much like yeah, that was the Sinister Six, but I feel like
I know what you mean.
you can't tread that back again. You really
But
can't.
I feel like this is the problem. This is the problem with the way they have the Tom Holland Spider-Man said. You could throw any villain at him, and it's. I hope they're not still running the story where it's just like he's just not mature. You know, he's not mature. He's not listening to motherfucking other like how like the whole No Way Home thing. Like I don't know. It's like they took. It was just annoying. He fucked up the spell 6 times during him casting it, and like with no regard to anything, no respect, and like Spider-Man is a role like that. That's just like beyond like ignorance. You know what I mean? That's like a little kid fucking up some shit. You know? Because like any other Spider-Man, if I was watching a cartoon or anything like that, and Spider-Man has been through shit. You know what I mean? And maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's like I'm watching the young Spider-Man who hasn't been through shit, and maybe they're gonna make him grow in the future. But just like right now, it just feels like very long and drawn out. And I don't know. I felt like everything other than the fan service was like unnecessary. To like, yeah. I mean, I guess that really strung the fan service together. But honestly, were they paying Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield by the minute, by screen time? Because I feel like they should have been in the movie a lot more.
No, they were in there for a good enough time and for a good enough reason. I mean, I wish they had a little bit more banter with each other on a couple things because, you know, Toby Maguire got
Yeah,
Dr. Connors in his universe, and then obviously there's Dr. Connors that
I feel like
Andrew had faced. But like as far as like they knew what they signed up before they even read a script, but the one requirement that they both said, mainly Toby said, like, as much as we're signing up for this, we're not I'm not taking the spotlight from Tom. This is Tom's movie. Like I'm glad to be Spider-Man again and to close my chapter, and so is Andrew, but like this is Tom's movie. So the amount of screen time that they had was enough. I'm glad it was enough. It wasn't like a 5 minute cameo and then that was it. But at the same time, it was still good enough that they
it was
had.
a camp.
It wasn't a cameo. Cameos usually last less than 30 seconds. This was more
It
of.
was
This was more of a coming in and at the time that was right for them to be, and then going with it.
uh,
If you want
um,
a cameo would be Matt Murdock. He was a
yeah,
cameo. That's a cameo because he was just
he was a
in
camp.
there and then he's out. Another cameo would be Wong. Wong came in and then he was out. He wasn't in the movie. See now, if Andrew and Toby came in for like less than 5 minutes or even less than a minute, then that's when it's like, all right, that's fan service cameo. That wasn't like worth it.
Mm,
Like it'd have been
I
cool, but
feel
it wasn't
like
worth it.
I feel like it should have been reversed. I feel like the Spider-Man should have showed up before the villains did, and then the villains showed up at the end, and then did the whole thing. Like the whole, I don't know, the whole story was weird to me. It was kind of, and that's why I hate that. Like it's a movie. It felt like it should have been like a series or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird. But I really feel like I was talking this about my brother and stuff too, because without even talking to each other, me and him were both like, it was all right, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's hype. It's the best movie ever. Oh, they did this, that, and the third."
I don't
I'm
want to
like, "Yeah,
say
they
it's the
did that."
best. I don't want to say it's the best movie ever, but out of the Homecoming trilogy, it's the best one. If I'm the ranked between Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, No Way Home is at the top. Far From Home is next, and then Homecoming. Because when I was looking at after watching No Way Home and then seeing clips of Far From Home, and then seeing Homecoming, I was like,
Which one is with radio or like
Mysterio was
the
Far From
the?
Home. Homecoming was
I
with
think that.
Homecoming was with Iron Man. That one I was just like, damn, Iron Man ain't do shit in this movie. He didn't even suit up. He didn't even do nothing. He didn't. He wasn't even a mentor. He was just telling Spider Man to just be like, stay at home, don't do anything crazy. all right, I'm gonna take your suit back. And I'm just
Mm.
like I get
But
you're
that's what,
trying to
yeah,
be a parent, but like there was no, there wasn't really to me like there was only one part of the movie where I kind of got like his lesson. He was like, if you're nothing behind the suit, then you shouldn't have it. I was like, okay, I get where he's coming from with that. But at the same time, I felt like he could have done much more as far as being an interactive person with Spider-Man. Same goes for Fury, but
mm,
Fury was a Skrull, so that really doesn't count. But at least
it was that
Mysterio was like
scroll
a,
stuff.
yeah.
I guess you know what superheroes is basically American anime. You know, I feel like that's what it is. We
Nah.
got the comics, they got the manga. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I don't really see cultures with a lot of anime and stuff. They don't really have draw like they don't really have superheroes. They have manga. They have anime. Or maybe
Japan.
it's all one and the same. Anime is just like that word. Like it's just cartoons.
Japan
It's
got
just the same word.
mangas, which lead to anime, and then Korea, South Korea got web comics. Everybody else got web
I just
comics.
feel like they keep their animation or their cartoons. See, that's where like that's what it is. It's like cartoons are for children here. Anime, which I'm pretty sure is like is anime short for animation? Like I feel like it's obvious, but it's so obvious I don't want to look wrong. But it's just like yeah, so they don't really put that age barrier on it though. They really will write any type of story in this anime, and that's what makes it great. And like people aren't like really shunned for it. They like people of all
Yeah,
ages
and
openly look through different types of shit.
yeah, anime can get very mature. There's a bunch of fucking gruesome animes that I've seen. I was just like, oh, like there was this one TikTok that someone showed me, and it was a clip from a series that I forgot what the name was, but it was like a kid and some creepy dude who was just like comforting him, saying like, "Oh, it's okay. You can just walk out that door." And then his partner was like, "What? Are you serious? You just gonna let him?" He was like, just let him go. Let him go." So then the kid walks out the door, and then he sees the entrance to the house, and he tries to leave, but some dark entity with tentacles come in, and then just strangles the kid, drags him, and just starts eating him. I was like, "What the?" Like they
Mm.
have no
Yeah.
bars hold. Like anime can either make you hurl because of how crazy and gory and gruesome things can get, a la Corpse
hmm
Party. If anybody has not seen Corpse Party, I don't recommend it. It's up there with Happy Tree Friends. Okay? Um or it could be as
Uh,
dope as like action or anything like that. But they don't care. Over here, like animation is a whole different thing.
what was this? There's this one show. There's this one anime I'm trying to think of. It was really gruesome. Uh, it's so random too. It's about this, and if you don't know it, it's just not gonna be any point. And it's about this guy, and he basically is he's in this world, and he has this connection with a witch that no one else has connection with, and she's basically death. And it's like Groundhog Day, and he keeps dying over and over and over again. You know what I'm talking about?
Is this an anime or is it
Yeah, it's an
uh
anime, and he dies over and over again, and he'll like respawn and have to like go through the same shit.
why do
What
I
is it called?
yeah, I wouldn't know cuz there's too many Groundhog Day stories that I remember.
Like it's Fate Zero or like Fate. It's not Fate Zero.
It's definitely not Fate
Mm,
Zero. I know what that one is.
mm,
That's a thought.
ReZero. It's
Re
ReZero.
Re Zero? What is that part of the Fate series?
Nah, ReZero. Yeah, it's actually pretty weird.
I'd have to check it
That's
out
the name
then.
of the anime I was talking.
I have to check it out then.
It yeah, it gets pretty weird, and it's not finished, which I really wanted to finish. It has a great story. It's creepy. It's mysterious. You don't know where the powers like are coming from and shit. It's cool.
Oh, yeah, have you ever seen the show Erased?
No,
You should watch it. Erased is a good one.
Erase on Netflix.
It could be